Everyone was in a state of panic. Seeing this, Uncle Song shouted loudly, "Stay where you are. If you move, it will attack again." When Jinwoo turned around, he saw that Uncle Song had lost an arm and became extremely worried. He immediately used a cloth bandage to dress the wound. Ideally, this should have been handled by Juhee, a B-rank healer, but she was too weak and had fallen into a state of panic, unable to do anything. Based on Uncle Song's experience with conquering dungeons, this was likely an S-rank dungeon. He intended to wait for everyone to calm down before figuring out an escape plan. However, before he could do anything, one reckless young man could no longer bear it. Having recently signed a contract with a major guild, he did not want to die in a place like this. Confident in his speed, he decided to sprint towards the door to escape, but he hadn't gotten far before the statue god's eyes suddenly lit up and fired a laser, burning him to ashes, leaving only his legs behind. It was clear that the statue god could easily kill them as if squashing ants. But why didn't it? Something seemed to be preventing it from doing so. Recalling the first commandment, "Praise the god," engraved on the stone tablet, Jinwoo seemed to have realized something. He suddenly stood up, causing Uncle Song to worry greatly. But upon seeing Jinwoo's determined gaze, not one of a man tired of life, Uncle Song didn't stop him. As soon as Jinwoo stood upright, the statue god immediately initiated its attack mechanism. Seeing this, he quickly bowed his head, causing the statue god to stop. At this moment, Jinwoo fully grasped its mechanism. He then told everyone to bow before the statue. If they did so, it would no longer attack, just as the first commandment, "Praise the god," suggested. After saying this, Jinwoo immediately knelt down. Seeing him, the others followed suit. Once everyone had knelt, the statue god's expression suddenly changed, revealing a wicked smile resembling that of the Joker. But it did nothing further. Uncle Park, seeing this, boldly stood up, and nothing happened to him. Seeing that he was still alive and well, the others sighed in relief and stood up as well. Just when everyone thought they had made it out, the statue god suddenly stood up. Uncle Song panicked and asked Jinwoo what to do next. But how would Jinwoo know? He only knew that they must not break the rules in this place. The second commandment was, "Glorify the god," which was their only clue. At that moment, a confident long-haired man who claimed to be a disciple of the old master from the cosmic shore stepped forward, saying he would handle this because he remembered prayers to glorify God. He knelt down and began to pray. However, whether he recited the wrong prayer or not, the statue god showed no signs of slowing down. It approached him, stopped, gave the same wicked smile as before, and then stomped down hard, crushing him to death instantly. Seeing this, everyone panicked and scattered to save their lives. A girl in a pink outfit was so terrified that her legs gave out, and she couldn't move, ending up crushed into pulp by the statue god. Uncle Park, running while thinking of his family, moved faster than the others. When he thought he had reached a safe spot, the statue behind him suddenly moved, slicing him cleanly in half. Meanwhile, Jinwoo was pulling Juhee along while frantically trying to figure out how to glorify the statue god. After observing for a while, Jinwoo noticed that besides the statues holding weapons, there were also statues holding musical instruments. Realizing something, he immediately told everyone to run toward the statues holding musical instruments. Upon hearing this, Uncle Song ran to a nearby statue. As someone approached, the statue began to play its instrument. Seeing that the statue did not attack, Uncle Song quickly informed the others. Jinwoo also led Juhee to a statue holding drums, but strangely, it did not play. Realizing that only one person could stand at each statue, Jinwoo told Juhee to stay there while he ran to another statue with a musical instrument. As soon as he left, the statue began to play. Jinwoo dashed towards the nearest statue holding an instrument, but the statue god chased after him and stomped hard. Although Jinwoo narrowly avoided it with an agile leap, his body rolled under a statue holding a shield, and just like that, he was instantly impaled by it. Seeing this, Juhee screamed and wept, believing Jinwoo had died. Fortunately, Jinwoo was the protagonist, so he hadn't died yet. Despite his severe injuries, he struggled to crawl towards the statue holding a musical instrument. At this point, the statue god's massive foot was hovering over Jinwoo's head, slowly descending. But thankfully, Jinwoo managed to reach the statue just in time. As soon as the statue began to sing, the statue god returned to its throne. This was the "Glorify the god" mentioned on the stone tablet. Juhee hurriedly ran to Jinwoo, but when she reached him, she was shocked to see that one of Jinwoo's legs had been severed by the shield-bearing statue. She did her best to heal Jinwoo, but as a B-rank hunter, she simply couldn't heal such severe wounds and ended up coughing blood from exhaustion. The scene was tragic, with corpses scattered everywhere. Uncle Kim, who had previously insisted on moving forward, now blamed Uncle Song for leading everyone to their deaths. Uncle Song took full responsibility because he was the one who made the final decision. Suddenly, the statue god raised its hand, causing the entire dungeon to shake violently. In the center of the temple, an altar emerged from the ground. Altars were commonly seen in mythology, used to offer sacrifices to the gods. This corresponded with the third commandment, prove your devotion. Uncle Kim, no matter how clueless he might be, understood the meaning behind those words. In the next second, he pointed his sword directly at Uncle Song's neck, forcing him to make the sacrifice, as a way to take responsibility for causing the deaths of Uncle Park and the others. Uncle Song also understood why they were doing this, so he willingly walked toward the altar. As soon as he stepped into the central circle, flames suddenly flared up. Not understanding what was happening, Uncle Song turned to Jinwoo for advice. However, Jinwoo was too far away to see clearly, so he asked the young man and woman to help bring him closer to the altar. The moment the three of them entered the central area, 3 more flames ignited. Jinwoo asked Uncle Song, "If we stay here, will someone come to save us?" Uncle Song said it was the 7th day since the gate had opened, and the statues would act before anyone could come to their rescue. A gate fully opens after 7 days. This event is called a dungeon break, where monsters pour out into the world beyond the gate. Thus, the purpose of these raids is to defeat the dungeon boss and close the gate within the time limit. Failing to do so means the dangerous monster will escape into the world. Thinking of this, Jinwoo called the remaining 2 people to enter the altar, believing that the number of flames would match the number of people. As he predicted, when they stepped inside, the altar suddenly activated, releasing lightning bolts that formed a circle of fire surrounding them. The previously sealed door suddenly opened, and the statues wielding weapons began to move toward them. Upon observation, Jinwoo discovered that the statues would move whenever someone took their eyes off them. Although Jinwoo informed everyone of this, staring at such terrifying creatures was too much for the girl. Overwhelmed with fear, she abandoned everything and ran straight out. As soon as she left the altar, 1 yellow flame was extinguished, and the door partially closed. Jinwoo was confused by what was happening. The yellow flames disappeared when someone left, while the blue flames gradually extinguished over time. Jinwoo recalled the 3 commandments of the Temple of God and confidently concluded that the door itself was a trap. It was testing their faith in God. However, others couldn't think as deeply. One of the guys couldn't endure it any longer. He left Jinwoo behind and bolted toward the door. Seeing this, Jinwoo shouted for everyone to stay put. If they lost more people, it would expose blind spots. They just needed to keep their eyes on the statues, and they would be fine. The blue flames acted as a countdown timer. Once they all went out, they would be free. But there was also the possibility that once the flames were extinguished, the door would close. At this point, Uncle Kim couldn't endure any longer. Although he survived up to this point thanks to Jinwoo, he had a family and couldn't afford to die here. So, Uncle Kim could only apologize to everyone before running outside. Now, only 3 people remained inside the altar. Uncle Song urged Jinwoo and Juhee to leave. They were still young and had a long future ahead of them. He would stay behind to hold the door. However, Juhee was exhausted and couldn't move, while Jinwoo had lost a leg and couldn't walk. At this point, only Uncle Song was able to move, so Jinwoo told him to take Juhee outside. Before things got worse, Jinwoo handed Juhee the E-rank mana stone he had struggled so hard to obtain, fulfilling his promise to take her out for a meal. Seeing that Juhee was unwilling to leave Jinwoo behind, Uncle Song knocked her unconscious and carried her out. After the 2 of them left, Sung Jinwoo murmured to himself, if he had known things would turn out like this, he would have bought a better insurance plan for his mother and sister. Jinwoo knew he was no match for these statues, but he still picked up his sword to fight. Even if he died, he wanted to take at least one of them down with him. Thinking was one thing, doing it was another. Jinwoo was quickly overwhelmed by the statue. He was about to shout, "Don't mess with me," when another spear pierced him. At that moment, Jinwoo remembered what Uncle Kim had said earlier, something about not being able to endure anymore. It was clear that he only cared about his own survival. Even his words of gratitude were fake. Who doesn't have a family? Who doesn't want to go back alive? When only 1 blue flame remained, Jinwoo was beaten to the point of being half dead. At this moment, Jinwoo felt deep regret. He wished for another chance. The statue then delivered a final blow, and the last blue flame was extinguished. Suddenly, a notification appeared before Jinwoo's eyes. Secret quest completed. Courage of the week. Eligible to become a player. Do you accept? If you do not accept, you will die in 0.02 seconds. With no other choice, Jinwoo desperately pressed the accept button.